Hello everybody, it is Alan, it is Brony time, and welcome back to Let's Play Tried Ace Attorney Dual Destinies. Yeah, I'm changing up my intro here a little bit. When we last left off, we finished the third case, and now we will head on to what will most likely be a long case over 4th and 5th cases. Or maybe we just do have a 5th extra case and I'm being dumb, but we shall see. But let's go ahead and hop right into episode number 4. Wait, it starts out with a trial? Interesting. Curious. We're starting out with a trial, which is what interests me the most about this case, actually. The courtroom bombing incident. A terrible attack. Terrible attack launched by the will of something. That incident perfectly symbolized the state of the legal world in this dark age of the law. Mr. Wright brought it to a resolution of sorts. Ted Donate was discovered to be the one responsible for the bombing. If only it were that simple. Somehow I can't help but think that there's a darker influence at work. One that's lurking in the shadows, waiting. That's why I want to review the trial that was taking place when the bombing occurred. After all, I've got more than a few personal stakes in it. Interesting. So this is kind of like... We always have the one case like this where you go back in time.
Huh. 1 hour remaining until launch. Please begin your final equipment check.
Check complete. Everything's A-okay. We're ready here whenever you are.
Never mind.
Come in, Act 2. Come in. Do you copy?
The heck? So we're getting a space-themed case here. Time for another trial to begin. This one is different. Oop. I'm sorry to bother you, but... Oh. Are you alright, Apollo? Ah, was I making a scary face just now? Oh, hi, Juniper. Yes, I'm fine. I was just doing my Chords of Steel exercises. Sorry. Now I'm all ready to go. Oh my god, I keep hitting that. Yes, knowing you, I'm sure you will be just fine. Oh, I brought you a present from my garden. Is this a lotus root? That's right. My grandma says lotus root is good for your eyes. She even says that if you look through the holes, it can help you see into the future. Hold up. Juniper's still 18, okay. Athena's also only 18. Oh, shoot. Spoiler, I guess. Ah, okay. It's for good luck. Maybe later you can cook it and... Thanks for this. I'm gonna have some right now. Oh my. Oh my. Kinda tough, though. You can't eat it raw, but... Thank you for the enthusiastic try. Oops, she didn't think me weird before. She will now. I've gotta calm down. Apollo, I'm sorry I'm late. Hi, Athena. Junie, I didn't know you were coming today. Did you come to cheer Apollo on? Oh, I get it, you sly little thing, you. Athena, stop. Quit kidding around, Athena. The trial's about to start any second. Is everything all set? Oh, Apollo, Apollo, when will you ever figure it out? Figure out what? Wow, that was the longest sigh I have ever heard. This is it. It's all over for me. They're gonna find me guilty. This is our client, one Mr. Solomon Sol Starbuck. He's a very famous astronaut who happens to be an acquaintance of mine. You wouldn't know it right now, but he's usually a very upbeat, driven person. The scene of the crime this time happened to be the Cosmos Space Center. Back in high school, my best friend and I went there almost a little too much. But that's where we met Mr. Starbuck. He'd ask about space travel, and he'd launch into a story after story with so much passion. God dang it. Back in those days, the man was 100% my hero. Are you sure you're okay with being my lawyer, Apollo? Of course I am. Of course I'm sure. I know you, Mr. Starbuck. I know you're not the type to commit murder. Thanks, but... I'm supposed to be in space right about now. He's so depressed, it almost seems like an act. The launch getting called off must have been a huge shock. Probably never get the chance to go into space again. Don't say that. Don't stop believing. Don't stop. Okay. Besides, you just have to go into space again. Yeah, I don't think I could face Clay in the afterlife if I just rotted away in a cell. Clay Turan? I can't believe he was murdered. I mean, he was such a promising astronaut under your command. Yeah, he was a good guy. Always there to pick me up when I was down. No one loved life as much as him. That's for sure. He was always so full of energy, telling me, "You're fine, Mr. Starbuck." You know what? I don't know why. I feel like this guy would be Southern with the name of Starbuck. How could something like this happen to a guy like him, huh? Never seen Mr. Starbuck so down. Okay, I cannot keep doing this sighing shit. Clay's gone and I'm going to prison. I wish I could burn up like a shooting star right now. Mr. Starbuck, you'll be fine. Ah, what is it? What's with the yellow? I'll get to the bottom of this today, you'll see. In exchange, I want you to go back into space for you and Clay, promise? Does that mean you have lots of evidence to prove my innocence? Oh, well, about that. We didn't get to investigate the area as much as I have liked. Thanks to the police. I'm done for. I'm a goner. Everybody thinks I did it. Thought I was gonna soar like a comet. But I'm just gonna crash like a meteorite. No, don't say that, Mr. Starbuck. Don't count yourself out yet. I know it's hard to lose a teammate, but you've got to keep going. What about you, Apollo? What about me? I was just thinking, wasn't Clay your best friend? We need to focus on the trial right now. Are you all ready to go? Apollo? Trial's about to begin. The defense would please proceed into the courtroom. Okay, here we go. This is it. This is one trial I can't afford to lose. For Clay's sake and our clients, I will find Clay's killer. Court is now in session for the trial of Solomon Starbuck. The defense is ready, Your Honor. What? How'd you get that injury? Excuse me, Mr. Justice. Yes, Your Honor? What happened to your eye? I'm fine. The defense is ready, Your Honor. Are you sure? I don't... I'm fine, Your Honor. The defense is ready. I'm sorry, Your Honor. It's been like this since yesterday. He's insisting it's just a sty. I suppose it's something he doesn't want to discuss. Maybe he's entering a touchy age. Very well, and the prosecution? Prosecution appears to be ready as well.
Silence.
Not yet. I'm not quite ready yet. Ah! Oh no! The prosecution is now ready. Well, it didn't take him long this time. What's up with Blackwell? Now then, I shall give the opening statement.
Silence.
I'll do it. You will? What an unexpected surprise. This time I can't leave it to anyone else. I see. Something is off with the two of you today. You both seem different somehow. Very well, Prosecutor Blackwell, your opening statement if you would. It was just yesterday. The crimes in question occurred at the Cosmos Space Center. Ah, that famous federal research facility of all things related to astrology, right? Astronomy, it's astronomy. Anyway, a rocket was set to launch from there. But at 9:28 a.m., before they could even move the rocket to the launch site, two explosive devices were detonated, and the launch was cancelled. My word, 2 bombs? How dreadful. The defendant in today's trial is charged with both the bombing and with murder. One Mr. Solomon Starbuck. Whatever inane reason he detonated a bomb on the rocket he himself would be in. Solomon Starbuck? I recognize that name. Isn't he that famous astronaut? Correct, your baldness. Mr. Starbuck was the pilot of the Hat-1 rocket 7 years ago. As you may recall, despite some interstellar trouble, his mission was a success. Some say it was a miracle he returned alive. I suppose you could say he's a living legend. Oh, I remember now. He's become something of an international celebrity, right? They even turned that incident into a movie and everything. Got a real space pioneer in court today. But even heroes tumble from their lofty heights. Returning to the subject at hand. Ah yes, the victim was one Mr. Clay Terran, a subordinate of the defendant. Indeed. A loyal disciple brutally stabbed to death by his mentor. Stabbed to death, you say? You mean his death wasn't a result of the bombing? Correct. Despite his lofty dreams, the victim was seen as an interloper by the defendant. And so he was sent not into space, but to the universe which we mortals cannot see. Clay. I think I've heard enough. The case seems pretty clear-cut at this point. However, there is one thing I'm curious about. The middle box next to the witness stand. What purpose does it serve exactly? Since you ask so nicely, it's your coffin. Ah! Have mercy on me! I jest. It's evidence. Due to its immense size, you've a little choice but to lay it where it rests now. We shall get to the contents of the box in due time. Phew, I feel like I just lost 50 years off my life. Does he even have 50 years left? Inner monologue in Athena, inner monologue. Enough jabbering. Bobby Fulbright's the name. In justice we trust. Ah, Detective Fulbright. Very well then, please explain the details of the incident to the court, if you would. On it. First, look at this pamphlet from the Cosmos Space Center. In it, you'll find a diagram outlining the overall layout of the Space Center. Ah, here we are. For a more detailed look at what's on the left side of this building. Take a look at this cross-section that we, the police, have created. See the launch pad in the main building? The launch pad is the square building, and the rounded structure is the main... Oh, the launch pad is the square building, and the rounded structure is the main building, right? You got it. The incidents took place in Launch Pad 1, and in the main building's lounge. I'll be using this diagram during my testimony. It'll make it easier to understand. Just before the rocket was set to launch, 2 bombs went off. Boom! Boom! One on the second floor of the Space Center's main building and one in Launch Pad 1. Thankfully, only the 2 astronauts were in Launch Pad 1 at the time. 2 of them managed to make it back as far as the boarding lounge. But after the escape, one of the 2 was found stabbed to death. A murder on top of a bombing. Detective, the victim was already dead by the time you arrived at the lounge, correct? Yep, thinking he'd sabotage the bombing, the defendant killed him right there in the rocket. Just look at this tragic photo. Oh my, is that a knife in the victim's chest? Yes, Your Honor, it's the knife that cruelly ended this young man's dreams. We couldn't get any prints off of it, though, because the defendant was in his spacesuit. By the way, Detective Fulbright, why are the victim's helmet and right glove absent in this photograph? We had to remove them to identify him, Your Honor. I personally removed his glove during the investigation. We had to get his fingerprints to confirm his identity, after all. Yes, it would be very difficult to identify him without a face or fingerprints. Now there's just one more thing I'd like to inquire about. What is the round thing next to the victim in this photo? Something so important to the victim, he took it with him as he escaped to the launch pad. A capsule that apparently contains asteroid samples. While obviously valuable for research purposes, it has no relation to this case. I see. Of course it doesn't. It always never has a connection until we prove that it does. So, we know that the bomb in the main building was on the second floor. Where's the bomb that was in the launch pad 1 located? That one was on the rocket itself. It was situated around the central part of the rocket. Apparently, the area around the launch pad's elevator was a sea of flames. I'd like to submit this diagram report into the record. Trial's just started, and we're already in a bind. You get used to it. Besides, that's what cross-examination is for, right? What the 2 astronauts were doing during the bombing. That'll be the key. I guess we just press for now. How powerful were the explosions? Well, the one in the main building wasn't strong enough to bring the place down. The room it went off in was burned black. Thankfully, nobody was hurt. Due in large part, of course, to me stepping up to lead the evacuation. Wait, what are you doing there in the first place, Detective Fulbright? Ha ha ha! I'm Bobby Fulbright, hero of justice. I'll be there wherever and whenever people need my help. I go to the other side of the world, or even the edge of the universe. Not sure he knows how far that actually is. But I guess I'll leave that one alone. Admirable decision, Justice Dono. Huh? What did he decide? What did he decide? Anyway, could you describe what it was like at the Space Center at that time? The bomb cut the power to the central bank of elevators in the third-floor lounge. It was pitch black in there, I tell you. However, the security cameras and whatnot were running on emergency backup. And how did the evacuation go? I immediately and heroically whisked people down to the Space Center's basement shelter. The basement shelter. Yes, there's an emergency shelter beneath the Space Center. An emergency shelter, huh? Oh, here it is. It's the bottom of the diagram. The Space Center is pretty impressive to have its own shelter. The power outage and the evacuation seem unrelated to the murder at this point. Guess I'll have to leave that aside for now. So, there were 2 explosions in total, correct? Yep, that's right. Alright, let's press on this one. Let me get this straight. Mr. Starbuck rigged a rocket he was going to board with explosives. Oh, what are you talking about? If the defendant really did plant the bomb on his own rocket, he'd get caught in the explosion as well. Oh, I hadn't thought of that. Fine. A simpleton for a simpleton. Fulbright the motive. Understood. The defendant actually had astrophobia. Astrophobia? What's that? A fear of space, naturally. Just the thought of space can cause the afflicted to freeze up. And so in his terror, the defendant found a way to stop the launch at the last minute. But that's absurd. Fortunately for you, we have evidence. Take a look at these. What are they? These anti-anxiety tablets were found among the defendant's possessions. Apparently he was taking them in secret to quell his fears. There are a multitude of problems with the rocket Mr. Starbuck rode 7 years ago. Rumor has it threatened to crash a number of times as well. That was, of course, very traumatic for Mr. Starbuck. But that doesn't mean he goes so far as to blow up his own ship. The defendant couldn't bear to mar his good name now, could he? No, not after the media had branded him Soul Starbuck, space pioneer extraordinaire. Given these conditions, the defendant could hardly run away like some space mutt. What, so that's why you think he resorted to the bombing? Naturally. He constructed this act of sabotage in an attempt to blow up the Space Center, which would effectively abort the launch, but spare his reputation. Now I'm sure you understand why we had to bring justice down on this atrocious criminal. Okay, well, even if he did blow up the ship, that doesn't mean he murdered the guy.
Hold it!
Are you sure it was only the two of them? It was just before the spaceship was set to launch, so of course it was only those 2. Well, there could have been somebody else inside the rocket.
Silence!
The notion of a third party on Launchpad 1 is utterly absurd. Just to enter the area from the lounge, one must pass through a door guarded by a fingerprint recognition device. Allow me to state up front that there are precious few with the clearance to do so. A fingerprint recognition device? Sounds as futuristic and complex as a space center. Actually, it's not as amazing as you think, Your Honor. Take a look at this photo. This is the door in the lounge with a fingerprint lock. Only personnel whose fingerprints are registered can pass through. I see. It's very different from what I had in mind. It is a record of the number of people that passed through that door yesterday. Yes, there were only 3. The defendant, the victim, and the director of the Space Center, Yuri Cosmos. And doesn't that mean it's possible that the director is the one who did it? Not a chance. He was in the main building when the bombs exploded at 9:28, doing his job directing the launch. Besides, having an alibi, he has no motive for committing these senseless acts. He has a point. Guess the director can't be considered a suspect then.
Hold it!
So, it would appear that the pair barely escaped with their lives in actuality. One of them had already been murdered inside the rocket. That's the angle the prosecution wants to push, correct? You got it. In fact, that's what I've been trying to say this whole time. If the victim had been alive, he would have for sure tried to stop the bomb. Is there any chance Mr. Terran could have been killed before he boarded the rocket? They were both alive and well at the boarding time and embarked under their own power. Their hearts full of hopes and dreams of space. And then both of their hopes and dreams were dashed. If I may continue my explanation, after the evacuation order was given, the defendant made his escape, carrying the victim to make it look like a rescue.
Hold it!
And who was the first to find the victim? Actually, there were 2 of them. The Space Center Director, Yuri Cosmos, and Detective Candace Arm. One of them was a detective? Yep, Detective Arm specializes in bombings, you see. She and the director were ordering the evacuation following the explosions. They were also worried about the astronauts, so they hurried over to the boarding lounge. That's when they discovered the victim along with the defendant. 2 witnesses, huh? One of them is a detective. I doubt either one would have anything to say that would help me. I think that pretty much covers the details of this case. Only the victim and the defendant were on the launch pad when the former was killed. If this is the truth, then only Mr. Starbuck could have carried out this crime. What little I could get out of him only hurt my case. Justice Ono. Foolish is the warrior who rushes headlong into battle. Preparation is the essential element of battle, so I advise you to take a gander at this. What is it? Footage from a security camera. At least 2 astronauts emerged from the bowels of the Launch Pad 1 corridor. The boarding lounge security camera captured their desperate escape. Now I would direct your attention to what the defendant is shouldering, which you can see is none other than the lifeless body of the victim. What? Order, I say. This matches exactly with what the prosecution has been asserting. Should have known Blackpool would have something like this ready. Apollo, how exactly did they determine that Clay was already gone in that footage? Ah, I see what you mean. But Clay was still alive at this point is pretty crucial. Your Honor, please take another look at the footage. Isn't it possible that Mr. Turan was still alive here and that Mr. Starbuck was helping him? Why, I believe you're right. One man carrying the other to safety. What a beautiful expression of friendship.
Silence!
Perhaps that's what it looks like to a one-eyed hothead and a dotard. But it only makes sense if it's the victim's dead body. What do you mean? Fulbright, explain it to Justice Dono. You got it. Ready, kid? If the murder had occurred in the lounge, someone could have spotted it. Anyone can enter the lounge after all. But doing it while they were alone in the spaceship? That's a horse of a different color. But you can't deny that there's a possibility the murder could have happened in the lounge. All the video shows is a man helping his fellow astronaut out. Your assertion is based on emotion. It's based on the belief that Mr. Starbuck would surely help his own disciple. But you have no logical explanation as to why the victim could still be alive. Unfortunately, Mr. Justice, the prosecution is right. Your argument is lacking in sound logic. It sounded perfectly logical to me. Well, Mr. Justice, if you have no further objections, I believe it's time to bring this cross-examination to a close. Objections? Well,
Hold it!
Your Honor, the defense requests a little time to think and regroup. Given the facts, not sure I see the need. What is it, Athena? It's just, there's something that's been bothering me. If it is the defense stalling for time, as always. Very well. I'm feeling generous. We may have a small measure of time. Yes. You have 5 seconds. 5 seconds?! After that, I declare this cross-examination to be closed, and a verdict to be rendered. Your baldness, raise your gavel high. It's time for a countdown. Oh! Ready? We don't have time. Spit it out, Athena. Only 3 more seconds. Look, I don't think the prosecution's explanation is very complete. Meaning? Meaning there's something missing. Like, they conveniently left it unexplained. Oh my gosh. Something they didn't explain. Something they didn't explain. You're right. I think I know what you're talking about. Your 5 seconds are up, Mr. Justice. Is there anything about the prosecution's argument that you'd like to rebut? Yes, Your Honor. Actually, there is. There is something the prosecution is yet to make clear. Well, if you put it that way, what is that prosecution is failed to explain? Well, we will find that out next time. Yeah, we're at time, so interesting start to the case. One that Apollo is very personally connected to. I definitely would say this is a conflict of interest. But we will see where that leads, if it leads Apollo to make mistakes and some such. But until then, thank you all for watching. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe to Brony Time for more content, especially more Apollo Justice, Ace Attorney, Dual Destinies. Also, make sure to share this video far and wide so we can get as many eyes as possible. I will see you all next time.